Good morning, Survivor Rights. What a week it has been. Welcome, Bruce. Here we are, once again, just a few days later. I'm hoarse because I have been on the phone since Wednesday. How are you doing, Bruce?
I have been just about as busy as you. Wednesday was something else I've never seen before. I often get
Good.
people approaching me on and off, but this week has just been a flood.
Yeah, lots of searches to your site, I'm sure. Lots of
Yes,
people doing their own digging, which is good. Um, I think we're kind of at that point of the information's out there. It's been out there. It's a matter of putting it together for people. I wanted to start this morning. I have a candle that was given to me by my friend Debbie Levine in Portland when I was up there. So I just want to set our intention this morning and make sure that we are staying whole and calm. And I'm going to just set it here. I'll blow it out when we close this. Um, but several of us, 20 of us have been, good morning, Mardell. Good morning, Lynn. Good morning, Fran. Hi, Nancy. Several of us have been on 20 hours of training through Pathways to Healing on doing healing circles. So we just finished that yesterday morning from 8 to noon. We had our last 4 hours together. So we'll be working on that. Hi, Beverly. Beverly is on, I'm not supposed to say that. It's all about what happens in the circle stays in the circle. But I just want to let people know that we are going to be starting, we're going to be talking probably this week on how to move some of that forward and help people heal through this because they have certainly shown us who they are, haven't they, Bruce?
that's for sure.
Yeah, this has been so hard, Carrie's saying. So we wanted to start this morning by just asking you guys how you are and what we can do to support you. We know it was a lot of information. It was not easy. Good morning, Susie. Beverly, it's okay. Yeah. So how are you guys doing out there? What do you want to talk about this morning? We have some things we wanted to just share about life after certainty, why we need certainty, and some tips and tricks on what we can do when we do feel so heavily triggered. Hi, Bobby. Good afternoon from Minnesota. Carrie's in shock and anger, saying she thought she'd been healed. Beverly just lit a candle as well. Thank you. I really feel like our collective is starting to come together. We're starting to come back together, I would say, as a community. What do you think, Bruce?
Oh, definitely. The 2023 was a lot of chaos
Yes.
and shook a lot of people up, and now it does seem like the ducks are getting into a row now. I think I'm seeing more and more of that. I see more people helping others.
Mm-hmm.
As I mentioned when I spoke to you in March or something on your show,
Yeah.
um, it just astounds me what people have done to step up,
Yeah.
to reach out to help, provide funding for therapy, to provide discussion places, safe places to talk so that people feel validated. Um, all of this has just kind of exploded, and like you say, it seems to be sort of, I don't know what you'd call it, but it's coming together quite nicely.
Yes.
And yeah, so it's been really a good experience, I think, the last 2 or 3 years, in spite of the the initial chaos. But yeah,
Yeah.
it looks good right now.
It's been painful, but I do feel like we're like starting to cross the threshold into healing, into really what comes next, you know? We're going to talk about that more on August 5th, but that whole what comes next, it's something that every individual person has to do. We've talked in our healing circles about, those of us that are kind of leading this charge. We are responsible to everyone to be honest and have integrity and to do our own homework and to show up in a way that our intentions are very clear and that we're shining the light and not for our own agenda or for our own anger or revenge or any of that. A lot of the things we get accused of, I can honestly say I don't believe that that is true for any of us. I believe that most of us, all of us, everyone I know that's in this space is coming at it from a place of wanting to help, wanting to shine the light, wanting to really just help people realize. Sometimes it might feel like we're knocking you over the head. Sometimes it feels like we're poking you in the gut. Sometimes we're dropping a bomb. But at the end of the day, it's necessary truth, in order to move forward, I feel. Do you have any thoughts on
For
that?
sure. Yeah, I mean, all these years that we were involved with Wings, we were the enemy of
Yes.
of the truth, and that was not never the case at all. I mean, we were focused on helping people. That was it, and we had absolutely no agenda of taking the church down or acting against the church. In fact, we did get accused of being tools of the workers.
Oh,
So I guess maybe we were kind of in the right spot. uh,
interesting.
yeah, because we were always objective about
Yeah.
it, and yeah, but people have their own ways of seeing things and
Thank you.
defending themselves and so on. But one point I wanted to make about what's next, I think the answer is unique for every person.
Yes. I
We all
agree.
have, yeah, we're all on a journey. It's all a little bit different journey, going to
It
different
is.
places, and how we deal with it is very much individual. I've had all my methods of dealing with the change, and yeah, but I know it's not for everybody. So
Yeah.
yeah, everybody has to find their way for sure, and we can help each other that way.
Yes. And the only thing that I feel like is kind of a one of the similar things that most of us are dealing with is learning to trust again. Um, and I'm saying that also because Beverly just said, I believe we are learning to trust. We couldn't do that before. I think a lot of people, the level of betrayal on so many levels affected people viscerally. Um, they thought they could trust, and then finding out that in fact, it was all not at all something we could trust. Um, and so learning to trust again, I think, has been a struggle for a lot of people. But and where they go from that, I wore my shirt today. I showed him earlier. Radicalized by basic decency. My good friends Brad and Kelly Graves sent this shirt to me a couple months ago. So shout out to them. Um, yeah, maybe it's a political statement in some places, but for me, it's about what we're doing. And it's basic decency. It's just treating people with the basics of integrity and honesty and love and compassion. Yeah, I guess that's truly God's work. Good afternoon and good morning to the West Coast. Yes, Judith. Good afternoon. Trust has and is huge. Yes, totally agree. Um, so tell us for a second what life has looked like for you. What have you? How have you? Your wife still goes to meeting. I think last time we talked.
And I have a son and a daughter.
Hmm.
Daughter faded out when she went to university a little over 10 years ago. And a son and daughter-in-law and three children still attend meetings. I don't think they really attend much for gospel meetings and some of the
Hmm.
worker events, but they do attend fellowship meeting. And so one of the cool things about that is that our family dealt with exclusivity 20 years ago or more,
Yeah.
and so we all support each other. Um, if I'm more than happy to support my wife if she goes to meetings, and wherever our kids want to go, I'm supportive of that, and vice versa. There's
Yes.
no pressure or separation. So that's one of the things I've seen with a lot of people. This exclusivity thing is so terrible. It splits families up, and but on the other hand, I've seen that get broken down and families come together again. I know one particular family I know very, very well, very split up over the years. And then once some of the truth started coming out, the whole family healed and they're all close again. So
I love
there's some really good stuff going on there.
it.
But
Yeah.
um, but yeah, you're right about betrayal. That's a difficult issue to deal with, and I went through that through an excommunication process about 25 years ago, and I just couldn't believe that, where they put their values. The values was to protect the system and not human decency, you might say. And so that was a trauma for me, and I began to sort of examine everything I believed, and everything, all my biases and so on. And it was a good process because it came out good in the end. But it's a little bit painful to go through that. And so way back then, I could see that the writing was probably on the wall for me at some point in time. So over those years, I developed a social network outside of the meetings. I got involved with a lot of community things. I'm involved with helping the homeless, social housing, climate action. I may even do something political this fall in terms of running for local office. So those are the things I find very, very gratifying because you're doing something for others, doing something for the community, and it's something that people in the meetings tend to avoid, and so they miss that gratification that's quite possible when you help your community out.
Yeah.
So that is certainly one way that I have dealt with the betrayal, the trauma, or whatever you might say, and it's been very, very good for me. I'm really happy with that. But like I say, it's not for everybody.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I love that you talk about values. You talked about values a little bit on Wednesday because I have learned in my life that values drive behavior. And when we're not clear about our values or we're unsure what our values are, or if our values were put on us through our programming from someone else, when we start realizing when we value something, it really, that's why we do what we do. It is the driving force behind our choices. And it's such a subconscious thing that until you really start going through therapy and start doing your work and start reading the books and listening to the podcast and all the stuff of evaluating what your values are, and you can shift your values, you can control your own values, but it is an analysis process of what is important to me, what do I value most. And when you start doing that, it is a lot easier to say yes or to say no when you mean no. Like so many of us say yes when we mean no. And when you get really clear about your values, it helps to just say, no, that does not align with me. That's not where I'm going. That's not what's important to me. It helps us prioritize all of those things. So thank you for talking about values because I think it's so important.
Yeah, there's an old saying that you become what you think about, and that also applies to values. You accept the values, you practice those values, and you become those values.
Yes.
That's who you are. That's who your identity is.
Yes.
And, but it takes a commitment to them. You have to decide what they are first, and then it takes a commitment to them, and then it takes practice, and then before you know it, that's who you are.
Yes. I want to honor a couple of comments out here because they're right in line with everything we're talking about. Bobby Murray says, drawing closer to my first love and filled with gratitude for just being my authentic self. Yes, authentic self. So many of us had split selves, our authentic self, but then this meeting personality and this persona and the way we dressed and looked and all that. But the second we were out of that, then we were this. So that duplicity. And, you can see it's evident in Ray Hoffman in his interviews. He has two, he'll wherever the wind is blowing, it sounds like that's kind of how he's going to answer. Who's asking the questions? Why are they asking the questions? Where is he in the world? Where did he just get back from? That's gonna, But to be authenticity, to live in that, takes a lot of understanding your values, knowing who you are. This is what you can count on about me, no matter if you see me at the grocery store, if I'm at home in my pajamas, or if I'm on an airplane to Timbuktu. I'm the same person. And what a gift that is to us.
Authenticity is very difficult in the meetings because there are so many expectations put on people to behave in a certain way, to speak in a certain way. And so when you react to those expectations, you're no longer authentic. You're no longer your true self. And yeah, you'll find that in society in general,
Yeah.
but not nearly as intense as in the meeting system, for sure.
Yeah. It is magnified tenfold. Judy Van Sickle is saying trust is often misplaced. Trust in God is what makes our faith unwavering. Susie's saying that's my hope. Our family is so wounded that her family could come together and be healed. Yeah. Tamarie's saying my husband and I were discussing David A's recent video. The thought came to me how those in authority just do not understand the impact of abuse, the lifelong effects. Yeah, I really think that is when I put on my basic decency this morning. Like, I think that's the thing that I even am still struggling with, Bruce. I would love your feedback on this. How can they not understand what they're doing when they allow, like the letter from David Lane? Like, come on. These people are brutally wounding survivors, and you're just welcoming them back like it's no big deal, but then you excommunicate somebody for having a TV or getting a divorce or questioning you. Like,
Well, I don't think there's an easy, simple answer to that, but in my experience in life is I've often seen leaders who go to the top, not just in meetings, but generally speaking, they tend to have sort of sociopathic tendencies. And I don't say that necessarily in a bad way, but they just don't have the sort of feelings of empathy for others. They're fairly cold, and I think we do tend to see that in the worker leadership as well. And that's why they can't grasp the pain that people are going through,
yeah,
because they're not capable of it. A sociopath isn't capable of that. So I think that might be a partial reason, and I'm not saying they're all sociopaths or
right.
they have no feelings, but I think sociopathy is probably a spectrum,
Yeah,
from one end to the other. And
right.
yeah, so leaders tend to be that way, I think. I've seen this quite a bit. That's how they get to the top.
Yeah,
They don't mind stepping on others because they don't feel any remorse or regret about that. And so
right.
I think we do tend to see that amongst, especially the overseer level.
Yeah, I think my sadness that I have sat with this week since Wednesday, especially, is for the people, for the workers that are caught, the underling workers,
Yeah.
that layer that is just caught. Which way, I interviewed with Steve Padden a couple days, Friday, I guess it was, Friday afternoon, to just see how the Bridges and Balm fundraiser's going, and to just get an update on that and how great the need is for workers who have left, that they support. And so it's been heavily on my mind, but that just the ones that are still in and feel stuck and are stuck they're not these duplicitous, horrible people that are making, I'm not saying horrible people. I want to believe that the overseers have some kind of level of decency to them. They keep showing me otherwise, but yeah, that, and so many good people that we know and love that are sincere, that just cannot grasp the reality of all of this. And that's the part that I think is so sad and so hard to
Yes.
accept.
So many workers enter the work with absolute pure intentions and with the intent of helping others and so on. And yeah, I just don't know. I wouldn't have lasted a year in the work myself because,
Either.
it would have been just too stressful.
Yeah.
And I don't know how some last, especially the ones that are empathetic type people.
Yeah.
It's got to be super difficult for them to stay in for a
Brutal.
long period of time.
Yeah, totally. So I want to talk for just a second about Wings, since you're here, and also Telling the Truth, the site that Cherie has. A lot of the documentation that we pulled together and put in one place, in one document, is actually and has been housed on your sites for a long, long time. I want to just Yeah. So
almost,
I want to
almost.
talk.
Yeah.
I don't want to deepen this wound for anybody, but for those of you that are research oriented or feel ready to dig a little deeper, we talked about 13 situations. There are so many more, and that documentation can be housed, they can be found on your site that you guys have been gathering. You and Cherie, really, not just you. I know Wings has a board, and a lot of people have been involved with Wings. But you guys have been gathering this data for decades. Talk for a second about what people could expect if they go to your site. What's out there? What kind of resources are there for them?
Yeah, so if you want to find out stories and information like that, the tab for news is the best one. And if you're searching for information on somebody or some topic, the search tool works really well. It'll pull up the stories with, if you put a name in there, it'll pull up the stories with that particular name in there. But there's other information on there that's more general, educational oriented. You will be able to find the old code of conduct that we produced. We started in 2011 and had it completed by 2013. And when I look back on it, I mean, it's not a perfect document by any means, but it's still not that bad. I would think that if it would definitely get changed if it was reviewed by some professionals, but it really wasn't that bad. So you can find, there's a bit of history there that you can find what we tried to do. We sent that code of conduct to every senior worker we had emails for, overseers and senior workers, and of course that didn't go anywhere. But and we had hoped for some feedback, but we got none at all. So yeah, so there's all that sort of information on there. One little project that we did, a friend of ours who is a non-practicing lawyer, he has gone and made a database of the reporting requirements of countries all over the world for reporting abuse. And so if somebody's looking for what the reporting requirements are in their country, they should be able to find it on our site as well. We
Love that.
also have, yeah, we also had we still have it, but I don't think it's used that much anymore, but a super private discussion board for survivors. And it was quite active quite some time ago, but so many other places have popped up that they've kind of taken over that function. So, but that was something we did do, and I'm pretty sure there's not much going on in there right now.
Yeah. A lot of people this week have reached out to me saying, I thought I was the only one all these years, like I was the only, and just so I know that for survivors, I've had a lot of them just say thank you because I feel acknowledged, I feel seen, I feel like that coming forward really, it was worth it now because it's shining light. But then I also had a lot of people really struggling with the whole how could I have not seen this sooner? How can this all be hidden? And to every one of them, I've been saying, because the real question is, how was I taught not to see it? It's called programming, it's called indoctrination. And so to stop beating themselves up and getting stuck in that question of how could I have not seen this? It's because you were raised from the second you were conceived, most of us born and raised, to and programmed your entire life to not see it, to trust the system. And
And
so,
to not question, to not
yes.
question at all. I was very fortunate to grow up in a family where we were able to argue points of view,
Mm,
and so that what made it easier for me years later to do what I've been doing for the
right.
last 15, 20 years. And but I know I didn't grow up in a common situation environment that most
Right.
people grew up in that was very, very restrictive. You weren't allowed to have your own points of view, and you had to fit into this cookie cutter personality and so on. And yeah, so there's no question that I wouldn't feel badly for, I mean, I've heard the same thing. How did I not see this? I hear that frequently, and I certainly wouldn't beat yourself up for that, because, yeah, it's not it's not your fault that you didn't look.
No.
Yeah.
No, it's not. So what I've been saying to people is, okay, so I start with uh, this little saying that I learned a long time ago in my life in therapy for myself and in some executive coaching I did, is that the truth lies in the anticipation. So when you're looking forward to whatever it is, so if you're looking forward to watching our show, you're either looking forward to it or you're not. There's no in between. Your intuition, your gut, each individual person has their own, like, this is resonating with me or it's not. It's about going to your job. It's about when you're coming home in your relationship. It's about going to whatever church you go to. It's about going to see your neighbors. It doesn't matter. The truth about anything lies in the anticipation. And so, in that moment, if we can start learning how to trust our guts and to just say, that's my awareness for myself. So, that's how I've been encouraging people to just think for themselves what feels true to you today. What does, when you're looking for, be honest. Being honest with yourself is the best place to begin discovering what's next for you.
And take nothing for granted. I think
Yes.
that's really important.
Yeah.
So many times, I know in my life, and I think a lot of people do, they just accept
Yes.
something they've been told. And I vowed a long time ago to make no opinion without evidence.
Yes. I love that. I had a lot of people also say that they still felt that they were feeling fear this week. And I think, and I replied to someone, when our nervous system is in fight or flight, like we lived in fear of dying constantly, our entire lives. It was fear of dying, fear that we're going to be in the wrong place at the wrong time and that we will go straight to hell. Like, so much fear. And so I just said, what would it take to replace that with peace? Like, where does peace come from for you? Whether it's just sitting and being quiet, reading, watching different things, but focusing on something calm and also being patient with ourselves. It took decades to get our nervous system trained to be so fearful. It doesn't shift overnight in just a year or 2 years. Like, you could do a lot of things to speed that up, but it does take time. It's not flipping a switch. So I just want to encourage everybody to be really patient with themselves as well. How long did it take you?
The fear of hell was a really bad one. I don't have a lot of other fears, but I had that one deeply buried within me as a child. I was afraid of dying. I was uncertain what would happen if I died, and I took 2 steps away from that fear of hell. The first one was a friend of mine who, he was in the meeting. We were both in the meetings at the time, and he said, there's no way there can be an eternal hell. And I said, well, what do you mean? He said, well, God is just. And a just God would never give someone an eternal punishment for a temporal fault. So he said, if there is a hell, it is temporary. It has to be temporary, because that's the only just outcome from a temporary life. So that was the first step for me. And then eventually I just came to believe either it doesn't exist, or if I do come before a God after I die, I'm confident we'll get along just fine.
Yeah. I love
So
that.
no fear now. Yeah.
Yeah. I want to go back to your evidence statement. Rhonda's saying, make no opinion without evidence. I like that, Bruce. You are the one that helped us reframe this, because when Cynthia and I first started having the conversation about doing that show, because so many people criticize her specifically, as we heard in Ray's interview with David, this is not a Cynthia Lyles problem. This is a systemic evidence-based problem. And so we came at it from, like, because her and I were literally sitting at her house going around and around, like, if they knew, if How can we get people to know what we know? And so that's what we started. Our working was title was, if people knew what we know, they would never, they couldn't believe it. They couldn't, it would be a lot for them to take in, but are we at the point that we can start spreading the evidence, not, without, and so many of us know, you've known for decades, like, how can we put this together in a way? And you're the one that said, take that weight off of us. It's not on us. It's not us. The weight of this evidence lies with the overseers. And you were so right about that, Bruce. I can't thank you enough.
Yes, I mean, they know, they all know,
They do.
and they do everything they can to make sure others don't know.
Yes.
And
Everything
I
they
mean,
can.
right, we all heard Ray Hoffman scapegoating Cynthia. That's
Yes.
just a pure scapegoating
Classic.
thing. It's got nothing to do with Cynthia at all. It has
No.
to do with truth and justice.
Yes. It's a classic projection. Let's get this focus away from me for a second. Put it on this
That's
evil
right.
person that's over there.
Yeah. And we constantly hear we've been accused for years in Wings. It's all lies.
Yes.
And but we've always been pretty careful. I mean, we haven't always put out something that was untrue, but as soon as we find it's not true, and then we fix it right away.
Right.
Our intention is to make sure that everything is as accurate as can possibly be.
Totally.
And so, I mean, I never really worried about people saying that it's just all lies, because I know that it's not.
Right.
So it didn't really bother me, other than the fact that I hate to see people deceived like that.
Oh, yeah. So the thing that I was going to say about all of this, you talked about curiosity. We've all talked about curiosity a lot. Fear demands certainty. And I think that's why when we are raised with fear, it goes hand in hand with certainty. What they're selling is certainty of eternal life, but it's not certain. It's an illusion of certainty. And I feel like curiosity really leads to healing. And I just saw that she's out there, Linda Galati. She's going to be on the show with me. I can hardly wait. I met her. Cynthia put me on to her this week, and I cannot wait to talk to her because she's so direct and clear about curiosity leads straight to healing. It leads straight to the evidence. It leads straight to all the things that we need to know to stop being just have blinders on and feel that. So Linda, if you're out there, man, I know you are. I cannot wait to have that conversation in a way that the way she delivers it, I'm like, yes, that is, it's the curiosity that you go down this rabbit hole. It's finding the courage then to believe that what they're saying is so true. And that's where betrayal sets in, you know? And that's the sadness. So for people that are out there that are still in that, like, this feels so bad for me, it's okay. That's part of the process of sitting in that, not knowing for sure yet where they're going to land, of just, it's so confusing. It's so off. It's confusing. It's like smoke is taking over instead of the clarity of the blue flame. So just being honest about how it feels in your body. Your body knows. Our nervous system, man, so smart.
I used to call it the truth tunnel. When you're emerging and it feels like you're crawling on your hands and knees through this tight, tight tunnel. It's very uncomfortable, and you're learning more and more. But at the end, there's a light there.
Yeah.
And when you emerge from that terrible, tight feeling that you have as you're learning all these things that were totally against what you had learned before, and when you emerge from that tunnel, yeah, the
Yeah.
fear is gone, and you just accept the truth just as it is.
Yes.
And
I do want to acknowledge there's some grief in that too, though. There's some mourning that has to go on with that. Susie, I'm feeling you, girl. Connie's asking the question, can those without integrity believe anyone can have integrity? Great question, Connie. Here's the thing that I would love your feedback on this, Bruce. This is the harsh part about people who choose to either do work with me or in Worthy of the World, for example, we've done a lot about this. The first step coming out of this is getting honest with yourself. It is very hard to start looking in the mirror and looking at yourself and saying, I own this. I own where I'm at now, how I got here, and now I want to move forward. My friend, I've said this a couple times, Darla Denherter, who was in the work for a long time and then has now been out for longer. It's only been in the last couple months of all years we've been friends, of her finally coming to the place of saying, you know what? I finally had to wake up one day and realize nobody put a gun to my head. Nobody made me stay in the work. Nobody made me do it. And the second I owned that choice, I stopped being a victim of the worker system. I just in the last couple months have feel freedom, feel confident in my ability to move forward. And so the sooner people can get honest and own, it is a horrible thing that happened, but it's like, don't sit too long in waffling in your decision, I guess is what I'm trying to encourage people to do, is don't let them take too much more time from you if you're on the fence. Does that make sense? You got to get there on your own, though.
The question about integrity is an
Yeah.
interesting one
Mm-hmm.
because I think that we, as human beings, we tend to see others as we are, not as they are.
Yes.
So if I'm a person who has no integrity, then it's very, very difficult for me to accept or believe that someone else has it as what has integrity, because we project our own lies onto them. And
Yes.
so, and it works the other way too. A person that's super high integrity tends to believe everybody,
Yeah.
and that can be dangerous as well.
Yeah.
So, the whole I think empathy is a skill that can be developed,
Totally.
and that's where we need to be. I think we need to be able to try to put ourselves in someone else's shoes so we can see the world as they see it, not
Yes.
as we see it. So yes, it's very difficult for someone with no integrity to believe that other people have it. No question.
I totally agree. I one of the first questions I ask people when they start working with me is, uh, are you taking directions from someone who's never left home? And please answer that honestly. If you're asking someone who's never left home for directions for your life, just understand that what you're going to get is a worldview that's this big. And if that's what you want, and because that's where you're comfortable, but if you really do want to learn about integrity and compassion and empathy and things that we were not taught, I don't believe that that church taught us integrity. I don't. It had the illusion of integrity, but it's duplicitous. It's like you pretend you have integrity, but do you really? And that's where that authenticity, I think that's the essence of the seed of authenticity that starts to rise up in us when we realize and choose for ourselves, I don't want to be that person anymore. I don't want to be someone who leads a double life. I want to be someone that people can count on. Someone that I'm the same person, whether I'm at the grocery store, on a plane to Timbuktu, or working in my garden, or wherever I am, because it's so much simpler. It's so easy. Life gets so much simpler. I will also say there's a valley of like boredom. When you first start living in integrity and you don't have to keep track of lies, you don't have to keep track of what you're wearing on that day, or mm, life is a little boring for a little bit. And so then it's like, what do you do in that moment? And that's where I love what you said about helping other people, helping your community, stepping up, finding things to do to fill what you used to be circling your own self about, on just trying to keep the lies straight on where you were and what you were doing and when you were doing it, and the fact that yes, I have a TV, but it's behind it's in the closet. Please don't kick me out. Like, when you just start living in that authenticity, life is so sweet, and the peace that comes and the love and empathy that you can start to cultivate for other people and getting outside of ourselves is so worth it.
Yeah, I can say that the meeting system did negatively impact my integrity, and
Yes.
I had to regain it and find it midlife,
Yes.
pretty much. But one thing I want to point out about authenticity is that people need to realize that sometimes your authenticity will have a negative reaction with somebody, and you might not be so popular,
Yeah.
and that's something that that takes time to say, okay, not everybody likes me,
Yes.
and that's okay.
Okay, so
That's
I
who
did
I
it.
am.
Yes, I did a Yes You Can a couple weeks ago on you can survive being disliked because here's the thing that I say about that. There are literally people, Bruce, that don't like sunshine or puppies or chocolate, okay? So guess what? There are people that aren't going to like you for their own reasons, and it has nothing to do with you. They just don't like sunshine, puppies, or chocolate, or any whatever it is. You know what I mean? You got to get clear that if everybody does like you, you're probably doing something wrong. That means you're duplicitous. That means that you are being all things to all people, and that is not. My Bible does not say be all things to all people. It says stand in love, stand for what is true, stand for those that are vulnerable amongst you. That's how I choose to live my life.
Have you heard of the four agreements of Toltec
Yes.
wisdom? One of them is that what others think of you is a reflection of themselves, not of you.
Yes.
And so that makes it easier to let that go.
Yes.
That, if you want to be popular, that's a bit of a burden to carry. But um, when somebody reacts negatively to your authenticity,
Yes.
uh, it's good to listen, because if you made a mistake and somebody gets mad at you, well, that's something you need to listen to. But if somebody doesn't like you for all the wrong reasons, that's a reflection of them, not of you. So
Totally.
you just got
And
to
you
let
know,
them go.
totally. And I say it all the time. I am not asking anybody to be wild, crazy, blonde that gives a shit. That's not what I'm promoting here. What I'm promoting is in the world we live in, especially Bruce, I feel like with AI and all the things that are coming, and they're great tools and all of that's out there. But what our entire universe is craving is connection. It's not just the two by twos. It's so the whole world is craving connection. And a lot of people say, "Well, I could never do what you're doing." And I say, "You know what you can't do? You can make a difference where you are. You can make a difference by being kind and calm at your grocery store, being loving, looking, seeing people for who they are, loving people for where they are in your neighborhood, in your family, in your home, in your community, where you go every day, in your place of work. You can bring a feeling of foundation, of being someone people can count on, being someone that people can come to for the truth. I often say, why do people keep asking me what my opinion is when they know darn well they're not gonna like my answer? Why do they keep coming? And it's because they know I'm gonna tell them the truth. And it's not easy for me or for them, but that's just who I am. And you can do that in smaller ways in your own life. And I will tell you that the connections, your friendships deepen, your life takes on more meaning. You know what you stand for. And it changes everything about our purpose and our meaning and why we're here. And that's what I'm promoting. That's what I'm asking people to do is to look yourself in the mirror and say, who am I really? And who do I want to be? And what gifts was I born with? And how can I use those for good?
And personal connection is so important, so
Oh,
valuable. Uh, One particular group that I'm involved with, we have monthly Zoom meetings, but about 2 weeks ago, we were all together in person, as we were making a submission to the budget commission that was going through the province, and several of us were giving presentations. And so afterwards, we all sat down and had coffee and connected, and we said, hey, we gotta at least once in a while get together in person
Yeah.
rather than Zoom, because this is just so much. It's way more productive and valuable. Uh, so, I mean, we're all on the spectrum of introvert and extrovert, but I think for everybody, at least some direct connection is so important for just for mental health, if nothing else.
It is. I just, went on that big trip. I went to Northern California, which is where we used to live, and saw a bunch of people there, and then Medford, Oregon, and then I went over to the coast, and then I came up through Portland and met people that I have only known online. And Cynthia called it my sister worker tour. Because we were laughing. But I literally, like, in one day, it was like, okay, I've got 2 hours here, 2 hours here, and 2 hours here. And so now I'm contemplating. Earlier this year, I was going to do a big road trip because we had a bunch of puppies, and several people in the Midwest wanted these puppies. Well, they ended up selling here in a week and we're gone. But now, what I'm thinking I might do is take a train trip. For $500, I could get an Amtrak ticket that gives me the ability to get off 10 times. And so I love to ride the rails. So to get on in Spokane and go across on the High Line and then maybe out to Maine and come back down, rent a car, because I can get off for however long, rent a car, drive around, see people. How fun would that be? I'm so excited. I might do that this fall. Um, but yeah, human connection is so important. And a lot of people are starting to get together in their area. So do it.
Yes, they're in Alberta. Every year now, they have a gathering at Pine Lake, and it's very, very interesting. I was there last year, and I gave a presentation on the history of wings, and to everybody who was there, probably more than 100 people there, and everybody had different religious views from one end to the other end of the spectrum, and everybody was just accepting of where everybody was at, and it was so I could just feel people healing as a result of that. And then we just missed a picnic in near Vancouver.
Yeah.
We were there the week before, and I'm kind of wishing I had planned that trip properly, but I understand that went really well. But yeah, we've
Yes.
done two road trips to Vancouver, which is about 1,000 kilometers
Mm-hmm.
this year, and stopped in talking to people all the way there and all the way back. Kind of almost exhausting, but it's very, very valuable for everybody, I think. And
Yeah.
it was just two great trips we had.
That's amazing. I love that. Beverly's saying, I'll come see you in Whitefish. Yes, I love Whitefish. The Amtrak station there has all kinds of cool animals and it's a cool town. And I've got some family there, so you never know, Bev. Um,
Whitefish is great.
Whitefish is great. I love it. And we were just talking, we actually live a lot closer than we realized before this conversation. So maybe we can, there's few people I'd love to meet up in British Columbia because I'm not too far. So I just want to just let people know on the last few minutes of the show, if you're feeling grief and then hope and then guilt and then loneliness and then freedom and then like all these things all before lunch, it's okay. That's part of the process. It's not linear. This isn't like you just wake up. I've said it already. You don't flip a switch. So just give yourself grace, everybody that's out there. Um, if you're doing that, it's okay. You might do that for a long time. There are some things that we can, that's why we're doing this. This is why Steve Vanderbine and I started doing bumped our thing to weekly. Every Wednesday at 11, we're going to be on live here on Survivor Rights, just talking about this kind of stuff so people can get moving forward faster. Um, yeah.
Somebody asked a group of local friends here, nothing to do with the meetings, but this person asked, "What gives you hope?" And I just instinctively said, "Agency."
Yes.
That's what gives me hope. If I feel like I can go from A to B, then I've got all kinds of hope. But if I feel I can't get to B, then I despair. And so agency is so important. And what's happening with, with the journey that everybody is on, we all have agency to get to that better place. So it is there. So that always gave me hope, and I hope that gives others hope as well when you can
Yes.
see that there's a better spot if you're feeling grief and feeling down, there you can get there. There's ways
Yes,
to do it.
I agree. Karen Ale is saying it's very hard to not seek being liked after so much rejection. I want to honor that, Karen, deeply. Yeah, and being raised people pleasing, especially for women in the two by twos, that is. Here's the thing that I will say about that. When you do become authentic, you will literally attract. It's kind of like if you've ever read the book The Secret, you will attract other people who are drawn to you energetically for your own, like that get you, that see you, and it's not surface anymore. When you stop leading a surface life and your life becomes grounded in the deep, deep connection of authenticity, we just, it takes time to build that, it takes time to grow that, but once you step into that, there's a profound change that happens on a soul level, of knowing that you have agency and that this is who I am and this is what I'm bringing to the world. And I do want to honor where you're at, though, Karen. It's hard. It is hard. I want to honor that it's hard, but I also want to say it's possible to get past that, to learn differently. Do you have anything you would say to that, Bruce?
No, I think you said it very well. Sometimes we have to let things go, though, and
Yeah.
that's not always easy, especially if it's a relationship that goes back a lifetime.
Yeah.
You just have to let it be. And in Buddhism thought, they say that the main cause of human suffering is attachment.
Yes.
And I don't think we want to run around life detached by any means, but that is true. If we get too attached to something and we lose it, it is very, very painful. And I think that's a skill that we have to all develop, is sometimes how to let something go.
Yeah.
It's not easy, for sure.
I do want to just say that I feel like that the community that we're building now is a community that you can count on, and that people can trust, that we have resources and tools and people that will catch you and be there for you and help you in ways that if your own family isn't, we will. I believe that with my whole heart, Bruce.
Yeah, oh, for sure. The community that's developing is fantastic, and
Yes.
nobody is out there for their own
No.
gain by any means at all.
No.
I mean, I feel a little bit burnt out after all these years, but I'm still there, and it's still compelling to be there, for sure.
Yeah, I totally agree. Um, Beverly saying connection that can be trusted. Yes. Ministers were always put up on a pedestal. In my existence since birth, I realized that when we do this, it's devastating when they don't live up to our expectations. The workers are only humans and are the elders in control of the fellowship. Yes, it is a devastating betrayal on a visceral level, but I can absolutely say with 100% honesty and integrity, the feeling that I have, I feel supported every day. I know that there are people out there, and I have people, we all, Cynthia will be the first one to say, tone that down, back that off. Like, it's not just blind loyalty. It's not just blind, oh, go ahead, Crystal, say whatever you want. You know, no, it is be careful over here, be careful over there. To, I feel like that we have the ability to love each other so deeply now and want for one another in this community to be the best that they can be. And that means speaking truth into one another. That means saying hard things and knowing that it's coming from a place of love, not to tear someone down or to hurt them, but to just say, the sooner you can get from here to here, the better from there's going to be forward. Let me help you.
I think it's so important to try to develop a love for truth,
Yes.
because, as you pointed out, it can be brutal. It
Yes.
can be really, really tough to accept. But somehow we have to say, okay, that was tough, but I'm glad I heard it.
Yes,
And once you get to that point, it makes it a lot easier to handle the tough stuff.
it
And
does.
but you got to develop. You got to say, okay, I love truth. I love integrity. And once you have that, it makes it so much easier to accept the hard stuff.
It does. Cherie has a sign hanging behind her. I'll have to go back and look at exactly what it says, but it's basically truth above all. Like, it is, truth is what matters. I have a little saying that I also say a lot: say what you mean and mean what you say, but don't say it mean. So, I think that's another thing, is learning how to not be reactive in our reactions to one another, to just be, take a second and say, how can I say what that person needs to hear in a way that they can hear me? When I say it with love, and I say it with kindness, and I say it with intention of good and not to hurt, man, what a difference that makes.
Yeah, I learned that lesson a long time ago. I was on a discussion group, one of the very early discussion groups of 2x2s, and it was like 90-some% X's, and a lot of them were quite angry. And I was just reading away, and there was one fellow, a professing guy from Wisconsin, and he answered questions so well. So I sent him a private note. I said, "How do you do that?" He says, "Well, all I'm trying to do is to speak in a way that someone else will hear me." And
Yes.
I thought, well, that was a pretty good lesson to learn, and
Hmm.
I never forgot that. I try to do that.
Well, I get a lot of feedback on that about survivor rights, that I do sometimes allow a little bit of discourse, but I don't allow that negativity to prevail. I'll either slow down the comments, or I back it off, I deal with it behind the scenes, or I just kick people out. I do not tolerate the attacks. Never have, never will in that group. That what we're trying to do is build community here. And that attacking one another is not how you build community. And so I try very hard to help people. I do try to model sometimes, like, here's a different response. Maybe we could look at it this way. We need to learn how to be tolerant. We didn't come out of learning tolerance for one another, or how to listen to one another at all. We don't have those skills. So I also try to be mindful of the fact that we're all learning here. We're learning together how to have these skills. But if I give people enough chances and they still say, no, I just am here to fight, then you're out. I don't, you know, that's not helpful for anybody. Um, Linda's saying, peace if possible, truth at any cost is the plaque on her wall. Yes, that is the plaque on her wall, Linda. Thank you. Um, Truth at any cost. And the cost, this is what I was going to say. I love the post that you made on your personal page, Bruce, about I didn't want to do this, but it was necessary. I feel the same way. I'm not doing this for fun. The cost to us personally is very high. It takes a lot out of us to speak this kind of truth, to be this bold in what we know for sure. But I know that I will speak for myself. I'm not going to speak for you. I also know that I see the suffering every day. I wake up to it every day, between running a women's group of over 1,100 women, running survivor rights, over 2,000 people, in a community where we are intimately connected with one another, learning together and growing together. I can absolutely tell you I see it every day. I see the suffering and I see the vulnerability, and I will tell you that I will protect that. I will do whatever I have to do to help those people heal.
Yeah, and you mentioned the cost, but there is also a benefit when you do see
Absolutely.
improvement.
Oh,
Uh,
so gratifying.
Boy, yeah, it is very gratifying. So
It is. It's
it's
worth it.
it's got the bitterness and the sweetness together. Bittersweet, I guess you might say.
It does. Yeah. And just so much love coming back. I had Dr. Natalie Bolin and I had a conversation, and I said, how do I handle, because we're coming out of a system where people, worship the workers. And so sometimes I feel like people worship Crystal in a way. And she said, you know what she said? Let them. They'll get over it, because you don't let them stay there long. You move them forward. You move them on to This is about you. This is not about me. So don't even worry about it. Just stay in your lane, keep doing you, and it'll all work out fine in the end. And I'm like, that is the best advice ever. So I don't worry about it anymore. I just move forward. I love people where they're at. Let people love me back however they need to at the moment. And onward we go. And eventually they will get to loving themselves and loving their family, and that the focus will be off of me. You know what I'm saying? Because it very quickly is already happening. That was April. Early April she gave me that advice, and here we are. It's very quickly just in, you sent me a nice little message. I am a spark. That's who I am. I light the fire, and then I let the fire move on. The fire will rage its own. That's just kind of my role in life. And so there on where we go. So we're going to wrap this up because we're at time. I'm going to give last word to you. My biggest questions that I just want to put out for people to ask for themselves is to stay in the hope and to remind you that you have not lost your ability to love. You've not lost your ability to trust. You are simply becoming more discerning, and those are very different things. So discernment will help you, and curiosity will help you move forward. So I'm going to give last word to you.
Well, I don't have much to say, but I just wanted to reiterate that we all have agency.
Yes.
We all have tools available to get us to where we need to go. And it's just a matter of picking up the tools, learning how to use them, and wherever your journey is headed towards, you can get there. And you can get out of the mire that you were in and get onto solid ground. So we all have agency, and it's just a matter of finding the tools and using them. So that's
Yes.
kind of my summary thought of today.
Yes. And I'm going to emphasize that by saying, yes, you can. All right. Thank you, Bruce, for being here. Thank you, everyone, for watching. I'm going to close our circle that we've just had together by blowing out this candle and just acknowledging that we had an incredible time together this morning, and this is the community that we're building. And I love everybody so deeply. I know you do too. I'm not going to put words in your mouth, but I know you do. And thank you, everybody out there, for all the love that is rising up and the trust that is building and the community that we're building. So with that, I just want to send everybody out. Have an amazing day. We're going to have an ex-worker on I'll be announcing that here shortly on Wednesday. And then, yes, next Sunday, I will be on with Linda Galati next Sunday, the 5th. So nobody's going to want to miss that show. I can tell you that right now. So thank you again. Have an amazing day, everybody.